Oh, hi. I'm Jenne Vermes, and I'm an author. I've been a published author since 2013, and I have personally written two books. I co authored a book with my dad, and I published my dad's most recent book. It is not his last book, but it is his most recent book. He has one more that we are trying to get published. So I'm here today to talk to you about my books. um, I want to start with the one I wrote first. This is Pathways, and this is technically a young adult fiction, but it's because there's no real specific genre for this year in someone's life. It fits best in young adult fiction, but I've been told it's not young adult because it's past high school. But let's just not get into details on that. I tout it as a young adult fiction because it's the first year of college. This is a freshman. This is an 18-year-old. So to me, that does fit into young adult. However, this can be enjoyed by literally any age, whether you're anticipating that first year of college or you want to reminisce about your first year of college. I actually ended up writing this book because I went looking for a book about this specific year of somebody's life, and no one had written it yet. And this was back in 2007, 2008. Nobody had written anything like that I could find. I went over to Barnes and Noble and Borders, bookstores, and I was like, oh, they don't have this. There's nothing like this. And so I went home and wrote it myself and eventually got the nerve to publish it. So this is a young adult supernatural fiction. So I just talked about your first year of college, and now I'm throwing in the word supernatural. This is about a girl that goes to college and has the normal college experience. Gets a dorm, has a roommate, starts classes, and then develops superpower. A superpower with really terrible side effects. And then she meets other people that have superpowers with really terrible side effects. And this true band of misfits has a journey of finding out who they are, why they developed these things, and what it all means. And I think one of the reasons I got into that was that I really wanted a story about realistic superpowers, not super strength and flight and the ability to shoot webs out your hand. Something that could be real, something that could actually happen. So that's what you get with this book. It's a really exciting story. It is set at Florida State University, but none of these things actually happened there, okay? None of them. It is fiction, but I did base it on many things that did happen during my first year of college at Florida State University. So if you know the campus, you will recognize a lot of things in this book about the campus. If you're not a Florida State fan, that's okay. It's not the point of the book, so you're fine. But yeah, I love this book, and it's the first in a series that I hope to finish at some point, but this was the first one I ever wrote myself. The first book I ever had published, I wrote with my dad. This is Standardized People. And this book it means everything to me because I did write it with my dad. It was a project that he and I decided to do together because we are both teachers and we are both really upset about what we believe standardized testing is doing to the minds of students that are taking them. Preparing students for standardized tests, we believe helps their brain form in order to make choice, but it doesn't foster creative thinking. It doesn't foster critical thinking or original thought. It only helps them decide. Multiple choice testing only helps people learn good decision-making skills, but not necessarily original thought. And that was something that he and I were very passionate about. I love this book. It's actually kind of a mystery. So it starts with a teacher who is giving a standardized test and feels really crappy about it. He's just like, I don't want to give this test. This is terrible. And then a student raises her hand and says, Mr. Trotter, none of these answers are right for this question. And he looks at it and he goes, you're right. They're not. And she goes, well, what do I do? He goes, well, choose the answer that's the least incorrect. And then he goes back to his desk and goes, what am I doing? And from there, it actually unravels into a huge conspiracy theory. My dad was big on conspiracy theories. So that's how it ended up, like, taking you along that journey. And there's danger, there's intrigue, there's, like, major moments. And at the end of the book, you actually kind of wonder if it's real or not. So that's pretty cool. But I'm really, really proud of the work that he and I did. It is a very, very long book. Had I really had some foresight, I probably would have said we should split it into two. But I think it's good. You get most of a good story in here. Why I say most is that we really did leave it open for a sequel. My dad passed away a few years ago. So this, I don't know that it ever will have a sequel. But I may write one. I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be on this intro video, but I like being honest. So that's another reason this book means the world to me. This is a redesign of the cover because I'm still fighting with Amazon over getting the rights to this book because, long story short, it was all in my dad's name. And even though my name is on this book, they're like, well, we need to speak to the account holder. And I'm like, well, that's fun. So I'm working on it, but this is a cover redesign. So if you see it elsewhere, I have the original cover right here. If you see it elsewhere with this cover, it's the same book. I just actually got to do a really cool redesign, and I'm really proud of it because I did the cover myself. So very, very happy with how it turned out. But again, I love this book. It's so much fun, and it leaves you kind of on the edge of your seat for most of it. So there's that. Real quick interlude is my little poetry book. I'm a songwriter and a poet, and honestly, I just really wanted to put something new out before I went to a convention so that I would have something new to sell. So I took a compilation of a bunch of poems and really meaningful quotes that I had written, and I published them into part one of a series. This is the Sound series, and it starts with noise. So it is a short, very short book of poems, but this tells a lot about the last 5 years of my life. So it's a very personal thing with me, and I love it, and I hope it's very relatable to any of you. And again, I designed this cover, so I'm really, really happy with it. So yeah, sorry. I guess this is a toot your own horn kind of video. And then I saved the best one and the worst one for last. This is the most important book in my possession, and it will be the most important book in a lot of your possessions if you pick it up. And I mean it. This is Letters from Camp. This is a book that I took the reins on after my dad passed away because he was the person that put this book together. There are a couple of pages of my words in it as a short essay in between two parts, but this is all my dad's work, and these are all the words of my grandfather. This is a Holocaust diary. This isn't a told after the fact when he got home and he was safe Holocaust diary. This is the real thing. He kept it while he was in the camps. My grandfather somehow kept a journal while he was in the camps during the Holocaust and World War II. And this is that journal. It was in Hungarian, and my dad tirelessly translated it. And here it is. This is a for real accounting of the daily struggles and just awful things that these people went through from November 26th, 1944 until the day he was finally rescued on April 18th, 1945. I wasn't sure if it was the 18th or the 17th, sorry. But yeah, April 18th, 1945. So you're looking at about 5 to 6 months worth of struggle written down and honest and real and raw. We didn't change any words, we just translated them. This also includes a recount by my grandmother. So the first part is my grandfather's diary, the middle part is an essay written by me, and the last part is my grandmother's recount 25 years after the fact. And it's so jarring to see how painful it still was for her 25 years later, because you have my grandfather's account in the moment and then her memory of it 2.5 decades later. And it's just so heart-wrenching, but it's also so beautiful because the thing that kept my grandfather alive through his struggles in the concentration camps was my grandmother. And I'm going to read you the back because I think it's just really important to help you guys understand what this book really is. What if there was a love so great that it could keep two people together through the worst times imaginable? The year is 1944. The place is Eastern Europe. The skies are black with ash, and the ground is stained with blood and tears. A husband and wife are separated by the Nazi regime and sent off to the concentration camps, likely to never see each other again. Yet in the face of unimaginable trauma, they refuse to let go of each other. Jenne Vermes risked everything to keep a diary in the concentration camps, not to write an accurate account of what he was experiencing, but to write to his love, Magdalena, in the hopes that someday they will be reunited. These letters are real. The events they describe are gruesome, horrifying, and heart-wrenching, but they cannot be denied. This was Europe in 1944 for the Jewish people. This was Andor and Magdalena's third year of marriage. This was life as they knew it. What would you say to the one you love if it might be the last letter that you ever get to write? I don't know how to follow that with welcome back to my video. I never got to know my grandfather. He didn't pass away in the camps, but he did pass away very early, probably from the stress of going through all that and so I never got to meet him. So this is the closest I will ever get to him, is reading his words of what he went through. But I can tell you that he was strong and he loved my grandmother more than anyone I think has ever loved anyone. And this is the most beautiful and terrible and important book that I've ever held in my hand. And I'm a big reader, so I've held a lot of books in my hand. I'm not saying that so that you buy it. I'm saying that because I mean it. It is so important that we read things like this. My dad was very, very adamant about the idea that we never let it happen again. And that's why he spent his last years, he was still working on it and didn't get to finish. He spent his last years putting this book together because he knew that we can't let it happen again. And so I'm going to keep doing these book fairs, and I have my other books, and I will happily explain them and sell them and write them. But this is why I'm at this event. This is why I'm here and making this video and putting my books out there for you guys to see. This is the reason. Because I promised my dad I would. And I promised my dad that I would make sure people read his dad's words. So thank you so much. I'm sorry to end on such a sad note, but thank you so much for watching my video. I hope that you take the time to check out my books, and please leave a review if you can, if you liked it, or if you don't, cool. Honesty's great. And if you want to know any more about me or anything like that, I have a YouTube page. I have 2 YouTube pages. If you like tap dance, I have youtube.com/Jenne Vermes. That is my name. And I also have a vlog channel where I do some honest book reviews of my own books. And you can find that, and other things. There are plenty of other things on that channel. You can find that at youtube.com/safety-scissors-duct-tape. We're weird. Anyway, thank you guys so much for having me here. And yeah, I will see you soon.